Grayskull.
I want to just say, like, I think that when people try to reclaim their agency, right, their ability to make things happen in terms of their name or how they speak, I think that's just so powerful. Because we have this thing where, like, I don't know, excuse me, I'm making to my phone comfortable, whatever, but like the man tells us what it is. Like if somebody told you how you should dress, because you're dressing too hip hop, you look at them funny. Or they say like that music that you're making, that's not really what's up. You need to get down with that classical music, because what you're talking about, that's not what's really real. Okay, that's not the real music. You look at them sideways. But when you try to speak and somebody says, oh, that's not proper, who decided what is proper? Right?
I can tell you.
This concept about who decided was proper, and then we still, like, when we try to find our independence in terms of who we are as people, as culture, as hip hop, it's like the poison's baked into the language that we use to describe the poison. So
yes,
very often that the idea, oh, we're not speaking proper. This is like one of the main things I'm just so against. Like, we decide who's proper. Like, just the fact that you, one of the songs I'm making right now, cogito ergo sum. Cogito. I'm shortening down to cogito. I don't know why I chose Latin. I just felt like it. I saw it someplace to, like, and it's like I think, therefore I am. Because you articulate your sense of self, whether it's translanguaging or just your clothes or whatever, or whoever you are, you're taking all these different pieces from all over, and you're creating a unique articulation into the world that nobody else has. Nobody else has what you have. Because you think, because you breathe, you are. And nobody can tell you what your existence is not proper. That's just one way, maybe like that proper English, one way that served the purpose for a while, but who we are, how we are, it becomes proper by the mere fact that we articulating our sense of self. I just want to say that because the idea that we don't speak proper always get me.
So yes. I've kind of bought it. So I've had this conversation with my wife, amongst other people, but like I've brought it down to white people, and my wife is white, just to be clear. But I brought it down to, like, white people have this fascination and need to label everything and define things and make everyone else fall in line.
Can I respond to that? I think part of it is, okay, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm trying to just preach the course that we can all join in.
The mid-school disclaimer.
So I'm just saying, so when you say like white people, for example, in your words, have this tendency to define things, I think that not necessarily white people, but people who have privilege, in any case, they have so much power.
So let me say, white supremacists.
I mean, I say this because, in all types of places there's privilege. I mean, like, if in hip hop, if I got these certain credentials, I got a kind of privilege, and
But whose model are we following, though?
That's the whole thing. The whole thing.
That's the question, huh?
Who drew the lanes and decided that you have to follow those? That's the whole thing.
I can answer that.
I think that goes back to the point Q was making, right?
All right.
Can I just say one more thing? Just like when you said, like, some people like to nominalize, right? Like, make these words and these terms. It's because very often, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. I'm just saying as a theoretical.
No, you're good, man.
Right. That, for example, what people are saying as white people, a lot of power is given to what white culture says. And as soon as they say it, people tend to follow it as being proper. So, like, I can say, like, just example, like, a while ago, people would say, I will Google you. And if we said it, they'll be like, that's wrong, it's not proper. If somebody you feel as authority said it, like,
right.
I will Google you, then suddenly it's
Elon
okay.
Musk. Yeah.
Right. As soon as Justin Timberlake says it.
Right.
Like
Right.
that, like yes,
Right.
like that, because there's certain people in our society that we have bestowed the power of being able to create concepts that others will follow.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen by accident though.
And it was not by accident.
Go ahead, answer, Q. Go ahead, give us the egg.
No, I'm just saying.
I think
It was
I
not
think
by accident.
it all kind of ties back to his first.
No,
point,
Q
right?
got the Q. He's been waiting. You got to say
waiting
it.
to say it. Say
He's
it.
been waiting to say it. You got to say it. I want to hear it.
Rashid, you're.
I think he said it already.
A few times tonight, huh, D?
All right, I hear him. I want to hear it. I thought he was gonna say it. I don't know what the answer. Like, I know Lois and Clark, they outlined the states, right? Or whoever it was. That's interesting to me. Like, where did they say Missouri starts here, Illinois is here? So if you know how this,
Look, I mean, if you think about any of the lines on the fucking map at all, we didn't have anything to do with that.
None. None.
To this day, with redlining, I'm like, we still don't have any say, and it's still all serving the same purpose, right? How do I do what needs to happen to keep me in what I perceive to be power?
And we do have say. We just have to say it together.
Well, the beautiful point.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's the whole thing.
But
That's too complicated. That's a very complicated.
It is. You're right. You're right. It's not that simple. That's oversimplifying it. You're right. But it's the truth.
Why is that? Why is it oversimplifying?
Because to get three people to agree on one thing in any fucking room right now, with the way that we've been trained,
we're creating a monolith. We're creating a monolith now of people who look like us. And if you think about how, like, if you look at history, if you look at just the way the world works, and you look at the history of Black people. Like, look at the history of Black people and look at everyone else. Like,
how far back are you looking in terms of?
It doesn't need to go that far. It doesn't need to go that far. So think about it this way. All right. So we like to compare ourselves to
hold on.
We like to compare ourselves to other communities, right? Like Asian, Indian, whatever. Or Asian, Indians are Asian, but whatever. Native American, Asian folks, whatever, like Afghani, Middle Eastern, whatever you want to call it. So when you look at it, they all have a connection to their homeland. True or false? They know where they come from. Mm-hmm. Chinese, Korean, whatever. They know where they come from, right? They actually know that they can come here, they can build something and send it home, or vice versa, whatever. How does that work for African Americans? How does that work? Where are you from? Where were you born? What community do we have? What community did we not create from nothing in a foreign country, all coming from different places? Rival tribes that were forced onto land to work for someone we know who they are. Like, what is our connection? What are we actually competing against? There's no competition here. These people actually migrate here and they're taught to treat us a certain way and to stay away from us. They had minstrel shows to teach people about how we were, how musical, lazy, whatever, while we were feeding their kids, while we were, like raising, like actually taking care of their home, building a country.
How about I say, just cut to the chase, building the fucking country.
Building a country. We built the country, but we're the lazy ones. We're the ones that, like, there's a whole lot of stories, but we like to compare ourselves to all these other people who actually have attachments to their home countries, their families, their backgrounds, their histories. They all have something that we can't say that we actually know. We have to do a fucking DNA test to get all these ideas, which we then get locked up for because your great grandfather might have murdered somebody or started an uprising or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of like, every time we built something, we've had it torn down. We've built many things here. Like you think like we like the popular one is Black Wall Street. That's a popular one. That's an easy one. We don't talk about Brooklyn. We don't talk about Central Park.
Wilmington, North Carolina.
Right. We don't talk about East St. Louis. We don't talk about fucking Florida. Like we don't talk about it. Like every time we built something from nothing,
Bronzeville, Chicago.
We don't have anyone to actually feed that back to actually help us. What happened to fucking what's the poorest fucking country on the planet right now? That's right next to the Dominican Republic. Haiti.
Oh, Haiti.
They got they gave themselves their freedom. And how does the world treat them?
Look what's happening.
The poorest?
Come on.
Damn.
So I mean, sorry, I'm like going on a tangent.
Make sure that we say that right.
No, keep going.
I'm just saying, like, like we are looking at things in my opinion the wrong way. Like we're still comparing. We're comparing when we shouldn't be comparing, and we're also creating a monolith when we shouldn't be creating a monolith. Like we have communities that are thriving. We have people that are thriving in the States and elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? We can't, like, white people have never all come together. No, they set up a system where they all benefit, but white people don't agree. There's no, like, you can't go to the mountains in white Peopleville and have them agree with the people on Wall Street or in Washington.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not a reality. So we can't, like, realistically, we can't do it. It's a nice vision. It's a nice idea, but we have to accept that we have pockets of communities that are building and accept that and acknowledge that and appreciate that and help feed those things and support each other as much as we can, but we are not a monolith, so it doesn't work that way. It's not that simple. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And they have a well-oiled machine. We have to compete with that well-oiled machine by creating our own well-oiled machines.
and hoping that the monkey wrench doesn't get thrown into the machine when it starts to function to what.
Right.
Well, that's why he said machines instead of a machine. Because you don't use one machine, because that monkey wrench can fuck up one. But if we got machines, you got that one, but we got 300 others coming right behind it.
But I think history has proven that the regardless of the machine, it's never been big enough. Right? And that is one of the fundamental issues, right? We can get but so far before we've gone too far, right? And that like it or not, we've only got so much control over. Like we haven't been in a position in what I'll say modern times to write the rules. Right. And even something as simple, again, the voting, for crying out loud. Right? We're would it happen? No, but could it happen? Like we could literally not be allowed to vote again with the right 2 or 3 pen strokes.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So that, when we talk about the structure, I think to mid school and the Q's points, it's never been designed for us to be viewed as equal. We talked about it a bit a couple weeks ago, right? The poorest white person on the planet, still, as long as they feel or believe that they are better than any black person you pick, half of the battle's won already. The challenge would be if those not so well off economic groups could say,
well, that's why they murdered Fred Hampton.
I'm not arguing your point, but Just stop and think about this for a second. Trump gets elected. People that need what we've passionately dubbed as Obamacare and started to lose it are like, I'd rather die than turn my back on him. If that is not the ultimate form of brainwashing, you don't even have to the point you were making, Q, they don't really care about that demographic. They are just as much a has-not as everybody else. But the trickery has been done so well for so long they still feel like, you know, and like I was having this discussion with I forget who it was, but not long ago, about how for the longest time I felt like I needed to be the example that all Black people aren't bad. Right? That's not my burden to carry, if I'm being honest. But I kind of put it on my shoulders, and that shit gets heavy.
That's,
you know what I'm saying? It gets heavy.
Yeah, that's how I ended up where I am now. You know, like I had to be 80 times better than the next motherfucker. Like, I know how to code in any language you throw at me, but that's because I felt like I had to be that good. I felt like if I were that good, then maybe they'll look at Black people differently, which was ignorant and dumb on my part as a young dude. But as a young dude, it's what I thought would actually help, because it's what I was told by my parents and, you know, people like.
they believed it. They believe, you know what I mean? And like I one of the things, like mid school sent me something in a chat earlier, and I'm like, yo, the amount of times that this happens is it's unreal. You know what I'm saying? And like I admire mid school, because like I think you were telling a story a couple of weeks ago about like one of your students saying the N-word in class, and you like stopped the class and had that very uncomfortable discussion. And I'm like, yo, I don't know. I'm 50. I still don't think I'm that adult. You know what I'm saying? Like I
respect the fuck out of that.
Right. And I try to think about myself in those situations, and I'm like, yo, I haven't grown that much. Right or wrong, I don't think I have. Now, if the rubber really hit the road, could I? Sure. But my first instinct is gonna be, you little mother, blah 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 blah. Your tenure here is done. You know what I mean? Like, so. But I remember you speaking on that a couple weeks ago, man. And I'm like, yo, that's amazing. And you don't, like, it's one thing to think about the challenges of elementary school, maybe not so much middle school, but high school, where you got kids that are trying to form their identities and who they are. Right. You're trying to relate to them, but you still understand that at the end of the day, this is a kid. They're a lot bigger than they were when we were that, but as a young adult in college, my expectations of you are maybe somewhat different, right or wrong. And I don't expect that. I would hope that you at this point in time know better. Like what, so yeah, I admire the heck out of it. Like that story sticks in my mind more often than mid school, because I think about my son, and like he's in school next year. You know what I mean? What the first time he comes home, it's fashionable now. This is all your music. Oh, why they can say it in the music? It's Joe Rogan, right? Right. It just amazes me how for you guys you can use it as a term of endearment, a term of disrespect, But I do to clean it all up, I do accept that it's not my word to use. After I told you why you're so wrong for using it, and we could argue whether we should or shouldn't use it, but I'm gonna smack you in your face 15 different ways and tell you how wrong you are for using it. But then I'm gonna jump on the sword and say, but I do recognize that it's not my word to use.
Well-oiled machine.
Right.
Well-oiled machine.
The well-oiled machine, though, that thing is, if we taught to look at ourselves as the most basic part, black, white, and all the other colors, right? So the machine is designed to keep you there, keep them there, keep us there, right? So you can't like really fight fire with fire. So you have to like take the oil out of the well-oiled machine, because that's the first part of it. It's well-oiled, so we're probably the part that's the oil part, right? So you take away the oil from a well-oiled machine, you just have a scrap metal and stuff like that.
Rickety machine. A rickety contraption.
Right. Which is what Detroit became. Detroit became a non-well-oiled machine. It needed the most oil. And look at Detroit right now. It's so broken down, but some of the hardest music, the part that we do have as a culture, like your answer, what do we put this money to? What do we have? We have this land. The fight is to get this land. Like the land is the fight, the battle here in America for us, so to speak. We gotta get them. We gotta get this land. Go ahead.
I don't disagree at all, but we're still trying to play the game by their rules.
Yes.
We're just, I mean, even Jay-Z has met his ceiling, you know what I'm saying? And he's a billionaire.
Yeah, you're gonna play the game by the rules. They're gonna call you an African American. They're gonna call you black.
But they're gonna call you nigga. We can't beat them at their game playing their way. We have to bend the rules, and we're not willing to bend the rules because we don't know what the rules are yet.
There are rules.
We have a full understanding of what the rules are, and we're still trying to figure out how to play by their rules. And we're not thinking outside the box on any of this shit.
Okay, let me give you a better example. You said like Black Wall Street, right? Or Harlem.
They all try to play by the rules, and jealousy, whatever you want to call it, like came in and was like, nah, son.
Right. I hear you. But
like, I mean, you look at Baltimore. Baltimore was the Black Mecca at one point.
Right.
When the uprising happened in the 60s? I think it was
early 70s. Yeah, early 70s.
Those places are still boarded up today.
By design.
Just as a reminder, like
by design. Right. If we'd be foolish to give you the opportunity to redo that again. You've proven it.
What's worse is, I know from experience, they don't make it easy to get those properties to actually build them back up. You have to be a large white corporation. I've watched it happen in real time. I watched the development happen around me while I was trying to buy up spaces, and I was getting turned down left and right. You know
what? Now I gotta cut you. Now I gotta join the game. Now I got to, like you said, where the numbers at? The numbers is in the street. I gotta join the gang now, because my gang is going to get us back to funding these Black Wall Streets. Black Wall Street can look the way it wants to look on the outside, but underneath there's some tough brothers holding some shit down, and it all starts with the ground. Like, I get what you're saying. You right there. But as far as thinking that this big well-oiled machine is just never gonna stop, or it can't be dismantled, it could be, it could not be. We're part of the fight.
No.
You remember how I felt like in '95? I know how I felt in '95 when Public Enemy was out, X-Clan was out, Paris. I thought by '96, it was over with. Fighting.
You said 95. No, that was like 91.
It don't matter. It don't matter. Whenever it was, when Brand Nubian was out, when everybody was out, they gave me so much power that I thought by 1999, we taking something. We doing something. We changing some of the rules that you're saying. We got to get a piece of this pie. Did anything happen? Something did happen. We may not be able to see what happened because we're so. I don't know about you guys, but.
Well, we made too much noise, and then the courts started speaking.
That's okay.
What happened was enrollment for black teenagers into college, in particular HBCUs, increased by something like 800%.
Come on.
So the little street corner Moo-Moos and John Johns that were supposed to be populating these jails were going to your Howards and your A&Ts and all that. And the power of the music was recognized.
Introduced Clinton.
And then weaponized.
And then it was weaponized. So we see what happened. And my thing is,
Motown was the most powerful. Look at Detroit. Come on now. This is not like you're saying. It's the plan. It's the plot. But the biggest scam is to make that you evolve around the color. Maybe the biggest thing was color. I heard the rumor is James Brown wrote the song "Black Is Proud." I'm black and he was tied to politics. A song made us become black from color. Maybe color was better. Who knows what comes under these so-called laws? They got us calling ourselves black. Black is being restricted. You put Black Monday, black music on Instagram, you get flagged.
Here's another interesting wrinkle though. Like, so gangs were not started as rivals to each other.
Mm-mm.
They were neighborhood watches and shit like that.
Come on with it. I hear you. Come on with it.
But that well-oiled machine came in and was like, hold up.
No,
these motherfuckers were talking shit about you.
The Black Panthers literally were started for the same reason Black Lives, well, I won't say the same reason, but for similar causes as what the Black Lives Matter movement was supposed to stand for. But here's the kicker. We could make a very strong connection between the purpose of the Black Panther Party and all them people in DC last year on the 6th of January. Now, nobody wants to hear that.
No.
Nobody wants to look at it that way.
They don't.
But at the end of the day, that's really what, and I just get amazed at how
immigration, Black Panthers, a lot of immigration, yeah. It wasn't just
nobody can accept that maybe, just maybe, minorities, I'm not gonna say black people, minorities have been telling the truth for the past, let's cut them some slack. Let's say the past 110 years.
Only?
But we cut them some slack. But
so-called minorities.
Trump.
That's tough.
Trump can be cheated out of election. He's the only person on the face of the planet that can be cheated.
But that's what it boils down to. Some people gonna say they're a black Republican. Some people gonna tell you they're a Democrat. These are choices. I
don't think any of that matters.
But the well-oiled machine never stops working. So if you ain't figured out how to try to alleviate, like, look at Shah. Goodness gracious. Eats right. Reads. Yoga. Come on, man. This is so far from where I am as a person that I get to. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying my best to stay in my realm to be accessible to it, right? So gangs, like you said, they were started for that reason. So they were making themselves accessible for what they thought would come next. Far be it for me to tell you the real truth about Jesse Jackson, who y'all may know a certain kind of way.
He's related to me.
I went to school. So do you know your other uncle, right? What are you laughing at? Do you know his other uncle? That's what I'm saying. So it's a lot of things that come along that be political, that make these people make these choices that you're saying that they keep making, that makes it seem like we have nothing to invest into. But we have a lot to invest into. Sheed has a business, we all have businesses now. So we can invest into ourselves to get these pieces of land that we really, really need more than anything.
I live in an area that Marion Barry is responsible for actually creating. You know what I'm saying? Like Marion Barry, the person that they paint as this notorious crackhead, actually created the black middle class in Maryland.
Right.
For him.
Right.
And
I'm glad you said
but again,
that. Right.
You do enough good, you will be painted. You can't be too good. You can't be
long enough to see yourself become the villain.
or eventually, like I'm just trying to figure out when they're going to get after LeBron.
Oh, they're working it. They're working it.
You saw they tried to paint the adulterous joint, and luckily the lady was like, "Yo, nah, don't even try to get me mixed up in that." You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think when they finally come after him, it's gonna be heavy.
I mean, look at everyone in history as far as who we considered like they've catapulted themselves to a whole new layer where like they can make some noise. I mean, even Michael Jackson. I mean, just to keep it real, you know what I'm saying? Like motherfuckers get disappeared. Like you
white or black.
Yeah, but Michael Jackson
playing a game.
You threat to the system. You're a threat to the machine. You gone.
Yeah,
but Michael Jackson, one of their kids. LeBron is one of our kids. I look at generations kind of differently depending on who came after or before us. Michael Jackson was one of their kids. Like we were saying, our parents and their whole thing and stuff. So LeBron seems like more one of our kids or one of our, you know what I'm saying, contemporary.
But if you listen to Michael Jackson's music,
oh yeah,
he was saying a whole lot of shit that motherfuckers weren't paying attention to. But if you listen to it, it's like, oh, he's calling motherfuckers out.
And if you hear people
and he had a platform to do it,
hangouts with Mike, they say Mike's conversation when he get around us is a whole different. It's a whole. That's not Mike that you see on TV.
No, he had songs about the prison industrial complex. You know what I'm saying? Like we weren't even thinking about that shit at the time. It wasn't even a fucking concept. He had songs about it and videos to go with it. Like he was talking about
veil it. He needed to package it so that.
And then he became a pedophile all of a sudden.
He became a pedophile. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like you.
And then he had to die a pedophile with that shame on his name. That's, you know what I'm saying?
Well, no. He actually died not being convicted of anything because he wasn't proven guilty of anything. We just have one saying he was.
He died as a potential.
It's still a question. Comedians still question and they make jokes about it. It's right.
Yeah, but that's just for the art of comedy though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think Dave Chappelle did it best. Let me guess. He had a shaft, 2 balls attached to it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, you know, and but again, the drug abuser, right? Prince. Right. Same deal.
Same as Prince.
Right, you know, and even say what you want. You can like Bill Cosby, you cannot like Bill Cosby. I don't necessarily agree with all of Bill Cosby's messaging, but I understand where a lot of his messaging was coming from.
He also told himself too much, but whatever.
but at the end of the day, I think Bill Cosby, whether he did it or not, I'm not questioning. But what I will say is, if he did it, and you knew he did it, why 100 years later?
He knew he did it. Wait, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Wait, what's your question?
All I'm saying is, if he did it, and you knew he did it,
right now,
then why now? Why not then? And yeah, I'm not saying I agree with all of his messaging, but I do find that there was some truth to a lot of what he said, and though it may have rubbed some of us the wrong way, well, we don't really like to hear us being corrected by ourselves. But
wait, so you saying like why now that it comes out?
No, I'm saying why if he I don't know that he really denied much of it, but my point is simply,
he told him himself.
Hey, he did it. I mean, I'm listening to Doorman. I'm listening to.
So why?
I listened to him.
So why?
Yeah, he said right. Spanish Fly.
From the 70s and the 80s, are we in 2010? That shit was 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
That he got away with it?
That has been happening. That has been happening. So why? So what made 2010 the breaking point? Who did he take advantage of in 2010 that made it topical again? Please don't say nobody.
That was Hannibal Buress that cracked a joke in Philly. I know because that was
but I'm not. My point is simply
you're asking who he offended to make them point the machine at him.
Oh, who he offended?
And what didn't they say? Wasn't the rumor that he was trying to find a way to buy in on
NBC,
something like that?
Yeah. So that's the only thing I heard.
I don't know if that's true or not.
It sounds a little.
My point is simply something happened. He ran his course. He was no longer as useful as he was prior to that. But
this is that's the cause and effect of what I'm trying to get Q to kind of see. But we're gonna get him there maybe through a song or a verse. But this is what I mean. These are the openings where those gatekeepers got to come down. Bill Cosby, the real. I got it. The nigga part of you. You know what I'm saying? I went back, I watched a couple of his movies, Saturday Night Special. I wanted to see what was his intensity in the role. That's what I want to see. I want to see what your commitment, because I kind of understand him as being an opportunist, whereas he had an opportunity to do this and he did it. He had an opportunity to do this and he did it. He had the opportunity to be the first and he did it. He did it. Opportunities kept coming and it rose. When we know when you work so much, you can get rolled up. 2 months went by. He had an amazing streak of opportunities. All right. Spanish Fly plays out. Drugs change. Molly's out. He don't know. Is it criminal? I don't know. Women do come over there to see him and all this other stuff. You hear about it. Is it criminal? I don't know. But I do know that he's a gatekeeper, and Hannibal was speaking out about the gatekeepers. You know what I'm saying? And how fitting that this guy's named Hannibal, a black dude. You see what I'm saying?
So when you say it was a gatekeeper as far as what?
As far as getting into comedy, breaking into Hollywood, all that stuff.
Okay, so you're saying he had the ability for black artists to either allow you access or prevent you from making it. Okay.
Yeah, he can make it break you. You know what I'm saying? Make it break you. He can open you up. He can put you on the Cosby Show. If you'd have been on the Cosby Show, how would your rap career have turned out? Probably more better than anything else. Not saying that that's what it is, but he is the gatekeeper. He became, we heard all the stuff that he was saying.
I'm with you. I see what you're saying.
But sometimes if you're doing something like that, your mind is to get us to look away from that stuff. The more black stuff you do, maybe the more we can forgive them for being, drugging girls or something. Like Spanish Fly was popular, fellas. You know what I'm saying? It used to be in the back of comics. Y'all said comics said.
I'm not arguing that.
It was.
I'm not arguing that.
Right.
I'm not arguing that at all.
But this gets into our head. This is why we think Spanish girls are freaky. You know what I'm saying? Subconsciously. So how have you been affected by the Cosby effect?
Tells me
you see what I'm saying? But I'm sorry to say that. But this is why we say they fiery. They mamacita, la 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 la. We are affected by some of these things that we still can point Cosby and say, man, you use Spanish Fly. But I'm still affected because I think that Spanish women are sexy. That's not the point. The point is that these people the situations are crumbling. Sometimes they just crumble by themselves, Q. We ain't got to do something. Sometimes the cause and effect of Malcolm X takes 20 years. Sometimes Martin Luther King
we have 40.
You know what I'm saying? However 50. Long it is. But it takes a while.
The thing is, I hate to sound like I'm defeated. No, I'm not arguing that.
Okay, go ahead.
As far as I'm concerned, we could argue that desegregation was not the best thing for black people.
It was horrible. It was horrible. And I say this as a person married to a white woman. It was a horrible idea. It failed miserably. I live in the first planned city in America that was meant for interracial relationships. I lived there, and it was a horrible idea. I'm watching it real time. I grew up in it. It was a bad idea. It failed. Sorry, continue.
No, I'm just saying. So, so when we look at the machine, like the machine's not going anywhere,
right?
Anytime soon. The hope, if we have any, is that as the generations change, the younger generations become more reasonable. But the other part of that is the machine is really understanding that it is not the machine that it used to be. Like China.
Uh-oh, we lost him.
Uh-oh. See?
Oh shit. This is what I'm talking about right here.
He said that buzzword.
He hit that buzzword. China.
Word.
He hit it. We hit it.
This is what I'm talking about. As soon as we start dropping it, then boom.
But look at him. Solving the problem. See what I'm saying?
The way through the matrix.
I had to
have the answer.
He hit the button on the utility belt.
That boy bounced right back on us and closed the other window out. Closed the other one out.
Just time travel.
What do we? Yes.
Your new name is Neo.
Woo. Okay.
But yeah, I was just saying, like the machine. I think the machine is starting to realize that it is not the machine that it once was, and it's got to do something drastic.
Desperate.
Yeah, it's, you know what I'm saying? But
I mean, it's definitely had to update over the generations. I mean, look at it. Like, white people were not always the same white people. Like, Italians weren't white people. Irish weren't white people. Like, they recruited to make their numbers bigger. Like, and what I'm saying is, like, we need to think more outside the box. We're still thinking about we're still thinking according to their rules. Right. We need to go outside of their rules a little bit more.
White people ain't white people. They ain't white people. Right. They think they white. They think we don't.
It's not real. None of it is real.
They ain't fucking white. No. I need to go see my girl. We go to my girl and we see her parents. We stay with them for a while. Small town. And everything named after Indian name, Chico Papa, Wappa, Sapa. So serene, fresh air. You just sit there for a day or two and just get, you know what I'm saying, nature, feel empowered. You feel it. Yeah. And I used to always say, it's time to go back to the machine. You know what I'm saying? And we chose to come back. Me and her, we drove 2 or 3 hours back to the Chicago machine. And boy, the closer we get, you know what I'm saying?
Feel it.
Now, okay, we got it. Okay, what you doing Tuesday? Did you get?
It feels heavy.
Closer we got to Chicago. Yeah. And I noticed it every time we get away, and I noticed our patterns and what we started thinking about.
You start losing your peace.
Yes, we getting ready. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm looking over my shoulder. Who is this? So that being that city, you know what I'm saying? That's what we kind of think it is. But there's white people ain't white people is what I originally said. And we all know about the white people calling themselves Indians, getting free land. They can almost become anybody. Them to be white, they put black paint on their face. So if they white, then they can be anything. No, you are whatever the fuck. This whole black and white, and that's very primary. It's very dangerous because it's so primary to a complex world. That's crazy. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
And it's used in so many other ways to create division. It's not even just black and white now. Now it's vax, unvax.
Yes.
That's the new black and white.
It's studied.
Anywhere they can create a new division, a new way to get us arguing and fighting amongst one another. Is the way to keep the machine fed and keep it oiled.
So
I get those fights and those arguments is the oil.
Here's the thing that a lot of people don't really acknowledge in a lot of this shit is like we've had the whole like trans and LGBTQ like those movements and stuff like that. People are always like, well, why did they get more traction when we've been fighting these fights for however long? What they forget is that all of these movements get black people to go along with them as well. Mm-hmm. So, but like the fact that they have other people than black that are along for the ride, it gets movement. Whereas so one of my clients was actually, she's related to the Roosevelts. And she actually told me on the phone, she was like, when her great grandmother was trying to get this like help get this whole thing started, like she was trying to get Black rights, but someone else coined it, we want to get human rights.
Eleanor?
Yeah. She was fighting for Black rights.
Yes,
like to actually help get like catapult Black people, but they made it human rights, which opened it up. Which made it no longer about this person, and it got more support. You know what I'm saying? So she was fighting a totally different fight and felt like it was failing because it got co-opted. You know what I'm saying? And that's how shit works. Like we need to think outside the box a little bit more.
Yes.
Hey, man.
I mean, look, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. The person that owned the quote unquote organization after it was just a fucking phrase. It wasn't a fucking business or a fucking corporation or whatever the fuck you want organization. The person that owned it happened to be white, and that allowed them to vilify it and boom, co-opt the movement once again. Now it's not the Black Lives Matter movement. Now it's a bunch of fucking hooligans and what's this the other code word they use? Antifa is the other code word they use now.
Black Antifa's been around for
owned by a white person? I didn't know that.
Whoever bought the name or who owns rights to the name is not a Black person, and who cares about the rights to the name? But that the fact that somebody white owned the name was what allowed the media outlets to start pointing the finger and start vilifying it as an entity as opposed to just an ideology. And that's how they kind of killed the movement, to be honest.
Hey, Mid, I know you kind of lived in a couple of different places. Is it similar like in other places where you've been, meaning I don't know. I think you were in Japan. Was Japan similar in the fact that there was a like who was the man in Japan?
Well, like Japan's like a little different because it's a little bit more monolithic.
Okay.
It's an island that's so far away. But for example, in Brazil, it's just like America.
Okay.
It's just like America. You know, I try not to be so political with the stuff, but the best I can say is Japan, just like America. All the places that I've been to that were former colonies, the whole the colonialism, the legacy of colonialism is still there, and you can see it very, very clearly.
Okay.
When I went there, it was my first time like taking myself out of the whole box, so to speak, because I wasn't considered anything but the American. I was the American. And it was refreshing. Somebody tried to attack me. No. He's American. And I got the whole embassy behind me and all that. Point being that abroad, the idea of Black and white is just so different from what it is in the States, at least in the places I've been.
Okay.
I want to just mention that it's very interesting that the term Black, as we know it now, is really kind of recent. As I understand it, it only really started like in the middle of the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, so I could dig into that too, but I'm not. This is not. We're not doing history class. Like,
don't hold back.
Not even necessary. No. I'm just saying, like, this conversation has already got its legs. We don't need to keep.
Because what's
we can continue it over time because these conversations need to be had publicly, and we can have pieces and parts of it. I think. On a regular basis, if
definitely.
This type of message needs to be. This type of conversation needs to be happening in a lot more rooms, and it's falling off. Like you were saying, Damar, we lost the Brand Nubians and the Poor Righteous Teachers, and all the people who were speaking something, you know, who were really speak the things that really drew me into wanting to rhyme. My first rhyme that I wrote down was me rewriting King Son's "I'm Black."
I still have that video on VHS.
Yeah, so that actually helped me get excited about it. Like, oh, this is something that's mine too. It's not just something I gotta watch. Like, oh no, and I can say something too. Oh hell yeah. So
and other brothers was doing it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it was
we keep the information and the sparks out there and steer the conversation away from the stuff that they want us talking about, which is the fucking TMZ bullshit and all that, which is just distracting us and keeping us from building. I'd much rather have pieces of this as a part of what we do.
Can I ask, when we talk about like Black culture, it's a question, only a question, do you think that is beneficial, not beneficial, neutral, to, for example, to refer to us as a Black community? Or do you think that is helpful or not helpful to specify, for example, Jamaican community or African American? I'm just curious. I've had this conversation before. I'm just curious your feedback.
What are you defining as Black culture in the question?
So, for example, in this conversation, we sometimes said like, oh, Black people do this or Black people do that, and then maybe a few minutes later we'll say that African American people do this, but they're not the same.
So I mean, I think I've been pretty clear. Like, I don't believe that we're a monolith like that. So I don't personally subscribe to Black culture. I think there are various Black cultures. And I mean, I won't really go deeper than that right now, at least.
All right.
And I would say, like, for me, I would prefer to minimize division. Like, I think there's enough challenges without me saying, well, Damon and I are of a different complexion, so, Damon's light skinned and I'm dark skinned, you know what I'm saying? And then, and then we've got this other division from there. I think and again, easier said than done, but I think the sooner we realize that we're more alike than we are different, and decide that, let's try to get behind some things that we believe in collectively. It doesn't even have to be the entire pie. Let's just try to get a slice together. We can start to move the needle there. I was reading something today where, a dude was talking about like investing. He was saying, if I wanted to buy a house, for an investment property, whatever, new construction, whatever, which is not necessarily the best business model, but his point was simply, a $320,000 house, ideally the bank would want me to come up with $70,000 cash. And he was saying, if I could get 5 or 6 people to each put in 70, and now we're at, $350,000, our buying power becomes 1.8 million. And now instead of buying this one house, we can go buy a 50 building high rise or something. Didn't really check the numbers, but the principle was right, and then say, so the mortgage is X, we rent the units out for Y, here's what everybody's piece of that is at the end of the month, and just ways that we typically don't think.
That's after I get my Lamborghini and my yacht, my chain. I gotta get my chain. I need that rollie, dog.
Even more importantly than that,
I'll call you next year. Dog. I got right. That's how, you know what I'm saying? No. I hear you. Right. You see, I hear you loud and clear, though.
I not to cut you off. So mid school, I say all that to say, I would like to see a lot less division within what I will call our community. I'll leave it at that.
So let me, I don't disagree with what you're saying at all, but so I keep saying, think outside of the box. And the way I think about shit is like, instead of creating this monolithic creature that we're talking about in that example, for me at least, like, if we're not creating division, if instead of giving game away and making ourselves an easy target, we're acknowledging that we're separate communities that can work together. So think about like the native tribes before white people came here and demolished them. Like, they figured, like the Iroquois, for example, they were a community of tribes in the Northern Americas, you know what I'm saying, which they figured out how to make democracy work. before democracy was a thing. You know what I'm saying? They were all natives. They all looked similar. They spoke different languages. They had different plots of land that they, you know, took care of or whatever, what have you, but they figured out how to trade and work amongst themselves. So they weren't a single unit that was easy to target as a single unit. You see what I'm saying? So I'm thinking, like, why don't we accept that as people who look like us, Black people? You know what I'm saying? Acknowledge the fact that we are very different. We have the people that are in California that have X amount of dollars or whatever, or they wear Dickie suits or whatever, but they operate a certain way. We had the folks in Baltimore, we had the folks in New York, down south, whatever. They all operate a certain way. They're not just Black people, but they're people from these communities in these different areas that have figured out how things work in their own way and have figured out how to work amongst each other to share those resources and actually spread wealth, power, whatever have you. And so we're not a single target to, like, all right, well, we can break down this leadership here and everything crumbles, like we had with the Fred Hamptons and the Stokely Carmichaels. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we had clear targets that once they were gone, once they took out MLK, once they took out Malcolm X, once they took out these individuals, we were done. We haven't had any leadership since, because we're still trying to find leadership versus being groups that can work amongst each other, and we have a network that actually
that works.
That's part of the philosophy with what I really want to do here with GRYSKLL is everybody's their own standalone machine.
Right.
We all feed this one idea still together, although we still do our own things and still integrate and work together. This is what we're all working for, is what this idea is. But we don't have to all fall under that umbrella, so that if again, like you said, if one falls, the whole shit doesn't have to go, you know, get dropped in the tank.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we're probably saying more along the same line than different. Yeah. And my point is simply, right, we're at the end of the day, we are all GRYSKLL, right? It is GRYSKLL. It is us, right? And then the factions be what they are, the leadership be what it is. So not saying let's do away with the separation of power, maybe, for lack of a better term, right now.
The structure, the hierarchy.
But I'm saying
no leadership.
I'm saying, you know, Hugh, you run Prince George County. You know, you might be in Towson. I hope they ain't the same thing, but Shy, you might be in Towson, right? You know, Damon, you got Shy locked down. I'm gonna hold down the Carolinas. You know, maybe we counting on you to hold down New York, right? I still think it's okay for us to present as one, even though we've got the 5 separate units. And that so when I'm saying no separation, I'm simply saying I don't want it to be, well, Maryland or I'm sorry, PG versus Towson versus Carolina. I want it to be, you know, this is us. You know what I'm saying? So I think I'm probably closer to where you are, Q, than I am not. But I do see how your example does sound different than what I was saying. So yeah.
No, but you guys are saying the same thing.
In a lot of ways, yeah. In a lot of ways,
it was relative, not the same thing, but relative.
Is there leadership in your model, Q? In the idea that you're expressing?
A lot of it.
Yeah.
In the communities are the leadership. Each individual community is the leadership.
Right. He's saying almost the same exact thing I was in that regard. Yeah.
If you look at Montgomery County and the rich Black communities in Montgomery County, like, they have their own schools, et cetera, et cetera. They don't operate or even know anything about how communities in Cali or Virginia or wherever is operating, but they exist and they're thriving and they have things that they have in common, you know what I'm saying? But there's no one vehicle that can be like, all right, we take them out, then shit is gone. You know what I'm saying? There's no Black Wall Street to take out, because Montgomery County is a bunch of different groups of people that all look similar, but they have a working vehicle that kind of meets in the center somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But you can't take out the leadership right there and take out all of Montgomery County Black people.
And if I'm not on next week's call, y'all know they came and got me. But the other piece that goes along with that is we have to get comfortable with the idea of not being our own enemy, right? We have the arms necessary to defend ourselves. The problem is we're all too quick to turn them on each other, but not protect the community. And I only say that because in kind of the example, right? All right, well, you know, she's the head of that Carolina faction. We got to find a way to infiltrate. We need the
so can I bring up a theory, something that like me and friends of mine, we've been talking about since middle school, maybe. It's a theory on how a lot of this shit has worked or works or whatever. But if you think about it, like when we were brought here against our will, we weren't brought from families, tribes, what have you, that knew how to even function together. You know what I'm saying? Like we were brought here from rival factions, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Like people who had issues with each other and forced to learn how to communicate with each other through a tongue that we were not familiar with, where we all spoke different tongues. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, again, it's just like theoretical, something we've been talking about since middle school. Just, you know, just throwing shit around, like why it's so difficult for us to come together, so to speak.
But this is where that drum, like we talked about, like she broke it down for us, that drum helped that tongue. You dig what I'm saying? At that point, this is where a culture of music and beats and sounds started making its way. Somebody played a drum.
Not everybody hears the drums the same way. So, like for instance,
no, I mean, not awake. You said what? Awake? I mean, people, you come into the function.
No, not the same way. So for example, if you go to DC, like I have a lot of history with DC, and I'm wait, hold on. Go.
Right.
We're not, like, everybody's not in tune with those drums the same. That's why people get killed, because for some people, like for some people's ancestry, those sounds, those vibrations were war drums. Whereas for some, it was for rain. You know what I'm saying? Like there are differences that we don't even have, we're not even in tune with, because it was stripped away from us. You know what I'm saying? So it's dangerous trying to figure out, like, there's this one voice that we all have through whatever it is. Like it's not realistic to expect, and it's more difficult than we realize, based on how orchestrated it was to just strip us from who we were to become what they needed. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. I'm not saying I'm not saying we can't overcome it, that we haven't figured out how to, because we're so busy.
Ball naked, nothing. We had nothing. They stripped us. I agree 100%. You guys said it earlier. You cannot stop the bass or the drum. Strip us naked. I can steal. Lunchroom tables. What are mid school saying? Lunchroom table. You cannot stop that. And you have to stop and pay attention. And you have to say, break it up, because unity is happening. Okay, well, they did strip us of it. We built it back up. Like you said, those different tongues, they came and we, okay, that's why all these sounds, well, that's war to you? Okay, well, it's not war, because we under conditions now. Now, what we're seeing, we made it out of that so-called situation to now people are going back to their own sect. Of course, we're not going to get the DC drum. I'm in Chicago. I'm not going to get that. It takes etiquette brought us to the drum. How long you playing the drum and people join in? You from DC, it's gonna take you 20 years to get to my drum here in Chicago. If you want, if something happened in DC and you getting away from DC, you dig what I'm saying? You making your way. You might hit a drum on your way to the West Coast. What's happening in Chicago? That drum beat. You know what I'm saying? It might pull you in. And you said that about Eleanor. Well, Eleanor, what she thought about, she came back, her thing was, since she couldn't do that, you said she couldn't do that, right? Well, she tried to come through, she dropped the book of etiquette. Eleanor Roosevelt has one of the best books of etiquette in your life. This is what the standard is based on. You see your dinner fork and, oh, hello, good evening. It teaches people to be proper to themselves. What you're talking about, community takes etiquette. Protection takes etiquette. I gotta know not to shoot my brother. You don't have to tell nobody not to shoot their brother. You know that. You know right from wrong. I know that. I know what robbing, like you said, make me want to go mug somebody. But you know damn well you're not gonna go mug somebody, or you are, and you're gonna risk it, but you know how to do it or not. So don't do it. I'll tell you, Q, don't go mug nobody. We need you for GRYSKLL. I'm not gonna let you do that. That's etiquette. You see what I'm saying? So at some point, we've all reformed this drum. We in DC, we in Chicago, we all over here. So these tribes, like, I get what you're saying, but it does take some type of etiquette to
etiquette is a dope word. That's a dope word.
Very dope.
Yeah, that's a dope. And you know, I look at us, right? And there's the hope, and then there's also the reality, right? It's like, you know, we all kind of have a vision, and then we all also understand that it's just not as easy as we'd like it to be. You know what I mean? There is no, like, even if you see the opportunity, you realize that the rainbow never ends. You know what I'm saying? There really could be a pot of gold at the end of it. The problem is the fucker never ends. You know what I mean? And that's the rub.
Right.
But yeah, but I like what you were saying about the drum though, Damon. And as you kind of explained it a bit more, I rock with you. We've been, to Q's point, the drum meant something different to each of us at one point. We could argue that in the early 90s, we got to the point where we were starting to dance to that same drum, and they took the drum set apart and sent them up every place else but back to the studio.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's really like, you know, the crux of it. You know why this run of trap and drill and all that other stuff has had the legs that it's had for so long? Because it's not sending a single positive message to the community. The dominion of that music is destruction.
Yes.
Why would they want to change it? I ain't had to get my hands dirty anymore. I'm gonna go pay them 3 young bulls and let them disseminate the message that is going to destroy everything around it. I ain't got to lose sleep at night no more. I did the right thing. I heard this young man with talent. I gave him a job and I made him rich. What he decides to do with those tools are totally up to him.
Yes. And there's a reason why they separate state and church. The people closest to God are the leaders. Presbyterian, okay, like the Presbyterians, they believe in elders, taking care of the elders. The elders live with us to the day they die. We take care. They purposely take care of the elders and all that stuff, which is being other cultures like Japan. They take care of the elders. Something you don't have to.
Though.
Right, but we have to be religious because that's what make us work. We have to call ourselves some of these people have to be called Presbyterian to know that we give it to our elders. Otherwise, the elders might not be taken care of. That's just how it is. Like we saying with the labels and black and all that stuff. Now, what you were saying with like Fred Hampton and Malcolm and all them, those were very angry brothers. Tupac was a very angry brother. You know what I'm saying? And when you got very angry, you got a lot to get off your chest.
Is it? Hold on. Fred Hampton was angry?
Finish.
Stokely Carmichael wasn't angry?
Finish, Demar, because
They were very angry. Yes, they were angry. Yes, they were hurt.
Listen instead of
they were hurt. They hurt for our people. This is what Christianity believes you. It's a lot of guilt that comes along with Christianity and the sign of the cross. Our Father who art in heaven. I submit myself to die for the people's sins and all that stuff. These people, they embodied that. They were angry. They might came across as studious and everything else, but at home, these guys were angry. And it comes across in their speeches. Some of their best speeches come across as angry. Some of them, Malcolm comes across as angry in some of his best speeches. It just so happens, that's emotion. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But sometimes when you get angry, it becomes emotional. Sometimes the people should have just listened to this man instead of following out directions sometimes. Like we were saying, like Black Panthers, sometimes, what if we would have just listened to Huey for a couple of years before acting on it? And we would have saw what the Black Panther program was. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it takes a while to just sit back and see what things really are before we fall for the okie doke again. That's the best thing we can do at this point. Because ethnicity, and like you're saying, this music is wartime. You're gonna hear a lot of war music. The music is reflecting our conversation right here today. Everything we saying is the music. Who is that? My boy Lil Durk, all them. That music, it reflects that. But we have sense enough to talk about it because we older. But this conversation doesn't take place in the real world. You know what I'm saying? This conversation don't take place to a 20-year-old. There's no time to talk because things are so fast. We're on the other side of life where we can see and say these things at this point. So our etiquette is to teach. This mid school. This is Tobias. This is Shah. I keep telling you, these are the people we have to protect because we are the worker bees. Like you're saying, is there a hierarchy? There's a hierarchy. Yeah, there is a hierarchy. I would say so. People that are closer to God tend to have better vision, better clarity, and better listeners.
I'm an atheist, so I wouldn't know.
I think I'm learning to understand God as a different thing now. I'm not looking at it as a person.
God is just black, right? That's all that black label and stuff. We can say the creator or just life being itself, somebody to confide in.
And it's wherever you put it. It's
right
here. Is wherever the fuck you put it. It's just an idea of this energy, this source of power, this source of strength, this source of. I don't want to say good. Mid school can explain why I don't want to say good. I rock with you, mid, on that.
Right. But it's natural. It's natural. Yeah. Like this is what Q was saying. What the Indians, it was just natural. They had an etiquette. You know what I'm saying? It was more spiritual.
It's our nature. It's our nature.
Well, nature. Rain dance.
It was mutual symbiosis
to me.
Yeah.
It was mutual symbiosis more than anything else. They benefited from each other. Like they had things that they all needed, mutual symbiosis. Like we can't survive, the land can't survive without the land, et cetera, et cetera. Like we all have things to keep this thing moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then how about making them make us into slaves? Making Indians take slaves and giving them the code. This is what you do to them. That's like somebody giving you a job that you don't want to do. Far be it from the Indians to do what they had to do to fight this other guy, this character. Jesus Christ, what are we? You know what I'm saying? So you talk that onion you was talking about in Colorado. I did what you're saying because man, it stinks. It stinks. Yeah. It really stinks. It really does. You know what I'm saying?
Oh shit, man. Why don't we wrap it then, man? I gotta get to the birthday girl.
All right, fellas. Well,
man, this has been real. Real shit. Y'all got a lot of. I gotta say, y'all got a lot of shit. Y'all are like books, man. Shit, I didn't know how much y'all retain, man. But I ain't staying like that for a minute. I feel like I'm
working off stroke brain, so I'm like 30% of what I was.
Yeah, cute, right?
It's when
you that motherfucking link.
I don't retain like I used to, man. And I gave up on it. Now I'm like, fuck it. It's just about new ideas. Fuck
I got 30% of my memory
stuck on what I can remember, not anymore.
Yeah, Q got great memory. He's like a X-Link or something like that. You remember the Rubik's Cube?
She caught me before last year, because last year I was, before last year I was on a roll, but yeah, after my stroke, I don't hit no more.
You don't, okay. You kind of like the thing, not after the Rubik's, remember after the Rubik's Cube, they made that snake that turned into a ball?
Yeah.
That's what he kind of reminds me of.
It was a light green and dark green. Yeah.
Yeah. You retain a lot. Like, man. Yeah. You'd be surprised. You just got to talk about it.
I unlock a little bit more every couple weeks.
And the problem is you don't get a chance to exercise it much in a lot of the conversations we have now.
That's what I was about to say, man.
It's like, about exercise, and I'm learning that myself. Like, yo, a lot of my shit is just because I don't have this shit is just like not playing ball for months or years on end. That shit, your muscle gets a little loose or whatever.
Right. I mean, you know how long I've been waiting to tell somebody I read the book of Etiquette by Eleanor Rogan? I never told nobody that shit.
Word?
No, I never told nobody I read the book of Etiquette, but it's a great book. It teaches you etiquette. But what he retained, I've been waiting to tell somebody that. That's crazy. So yeah.
Yo, what up? Your boy, once again, coming back to you, the most fabulous T-Bear 183, bringing you them joints that got that high replay value. And this session, what are we gonna talk about? I gotta talk about that cast, man. Outkast, Aquemini. Another joint, got it on CD. Once again, I don't have everything on wax. Boom. Aquemini. This joint here. And in fact, man, I mean, probably at one point, we're going to talk about every Outkast album that ever dropped because they all got crazy replay value. You know, you got to give credit where credit is due. These two brothers here, man, they did their thing. There ain't nothing else to be said. You know, but again, got it on CD, liner notes. Even when you from the South, you still got liner notes, you know, talking about production credits, got lyrics in here, whatnot, extra pictures and things, you know. Man, this one here, you know, it reminds me of stuff. What was this? I'm probably gonna mess up the year because I'm not thinking about it good. This had to be about, what, 97, 98, I want to say. Man, my wife, who wasn't my wife then, but man, she had this old 1982, or was it 84? It don't even matter. A Chevy Chevette. And my partner owned it before she did. And so we had tinted the back windows. Crazy, right? So we used to put sounds in the cars, man. And she's like, man, you know, I want to beat too. So we hit the stashes up, came up with a box of subs and a radio, CD player, and some inside speakers, and hooked this little car up, man. This little Chevette used to come through beating. I mean, banging. People be mad because this old ass whip come through beating down the block. And what was she playing all the time? Outkast, Aquemini. The joints on here that y'all know, man. First of all, we got to get the radio cuts out the way. Rosa Parks, Skew It on the Barbie. Those was dope, but you ain't really getting to the meat and potatoes of this album until track 5, self-titled Aquemini. Then you go on in the synthesizer. This is when you really start seeing them experimenting with their sound and what have you. And man, art of storytelling, man, that joint right there, the whole story or stories that they told in there, it's crazy. Oh man, y'all scared with Goody Mob? Come on, and the highlights, Liberation. When they did Liberation, this song give you goosebumps when you listening to it. You know, man, even down to CeeLo crooning on it. Well, hell, they was all kind of singing. It was like a chant before the chant, the way the hook went. I'm trying to think that they even rap. They ain't even rap on that song. Matter of fact, the whole damn thing was really them singing. But it was just crazy. Even had an Erykah Badu guest appearance on here. Man, this joint here, Aquemini, is something serious. And this is well, hell, damn near every Outkast album got high replay value. Like I said, I play these joints all the time. This one may not be a once a monther because just the way I am, I'm not always in a mood to listen to Outkast. But then again, I take that back because this one's similar. Outkast to me is like the Tribe Called Quest of the South. You know, you can throw it on and I'm still gonna groove to it. I just may not go to it right off the top. But we still talking about, you know, at least once a month, once every 2 months. It's just that dope. It's just that good. This one, all the Outkast albums really, but man, this is one of my favorite ones that they did. And they another ones that's just consistent with their sound. They change it up, but don't go too far overboard on you where they lose you. And you know, and then that even balance they had between Big Boy's rhymes and Andre 3000's rhymes. It's like that dope hood balance almost, because you got the pimp player guy rhyming, and then you also got, like, you know, the more traditional, you know, lyrics flying left and right at you rhymes, and it just works. It works. They dynamic works so doggone well, man. I would really love for them to go ahead and come back and bring us another Outkast album. They've been on their own hiatuses for a while, still making music but not together. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Aquemini, go purchase it if you don't own it already. I'm sure y'all can find it streaming everywhere, but go purchase it if you can find. I know they just put out a repress on wax not too long ago. Cop the wax. Go find the CD in some random dollar bin somewhere, unless you can find it used, or if you have to, just straight up buy the MP3s, Amazon Music, iTunes, or what have you. But dope album, highly recommended. Until next time, my peoples.